while your day is winding down. They're just getting started. This is South Coast Tonight with Chris McCarthy and Marcus Farrow. They've got you covered on all the news of the day, from local issues to politics on both sides of the aisle. This is the place where the movers and shakers come to be heard, to listen, and where they're held accountable. This is South Coast Tonight on WBSM.
Is he on hold? That should be, that should be on.
Welcome back to South Coast Tonight. I'm Marcus Farrow.
And I'm Chris McCarthy.
So that was Chris Markey. He had some things to say for sure.
Look, I like Chris a lot. And you can tell that he's really moved and upset with the mayor. And look, I'm not talking out of school. I think the mayor made a mistake by not talking the delegation. And I told him that. Not that's my position, but I did not, but I did, because as I've felt, we have a great delegation. And we have a good mayor, a great mayor. And I'd like them all to be working together. It seems to me, Marcus, to be counterproductive. It was up to John to pick up the phone and call these guys. And hopefully that's the lesson he takes out of this, because I think he's going to be here for another 4 years. And I hope our delegation's here with him, right? And so the reality of it is that it's a strong delegation. Exhibit A, $1 billion for South Coast Rail.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Brought over the course of years by Mark Montigny and every succeeding member of the delegation, and of course Mike Roddick. So, sometimes I leave him out of the conversation because he's over there in Fall River, but he's as much a part of it as Mark. And but every new rep comes in, joins the team, they all start rowing, right?
Yeah.
Chris Hendricks, Chris Markey. And so it makes no sense to have these sort of divisions.
So the mayor did have a State of the City address.
Yes.
A lot was covered. And in attendance was the majority of the city council, one of whom is his first State of the City address, I believe. City Councilor from Ward 3, Shawn Oliver. I think he's joining us now. Shawn? Hello?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Hey,
Councilor, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
We're better. We're doing great now that you're here. Thank you.
Awesome.
This was your first State of the City as a city councilor. What did you think of it? What were your opinions? What's your ideas?
Well, this is the adult version of a pep rally, right?
That's good.
There it is.
That's
I like
good.
that.
I like that, yeah.
But a lot of good things were discussed. But the fact of the matter is now that they're out there, it's to put these things into motions. We have a lot of booklets that we've been getting over the last couple of months with the comprehensive housing plan and today's, standard of appearance. These are all great. Now it's we have to work together to put these initiatives into motion.
So we're speaking with Ward 3 City Councilor Shawn Oliver. So I really like the adult version of a pep rally.
That was very good. That was very good.
So
it was at the high school too, so perfect.
There you go.
Yep.
The analogy keeps winning.
So Shawn, you were there. There were, you said it's incumbent upon you guys to get the work done that needs to be done. You guys and the mayor, you and the city council. What is there anything in that speech particularly that stood out to you?
Obviously, we were here to cheerlead about the South Coast Rail, and we're talking about the initiatives to make New Bedford the cleanest city in New England. That's a pretty bold statement, but a statement that I like, and which I've been championing for a couple of weeks now with our current system of the Fix It, See It, Fix It, See It, Click It, Fix It app. So I think with the rolling out of the 311 system in the next year, I think hopefully it'll streamline some of the miscommunication that people may have had with the use of the app. But it's a little bit easier. People can just call in. But for us to do this, for us to be the cleanest city in New England, it really is going to take, every constituent, every resident, every business to do its part.
So, yeah, I think that's important because the 311, he announced today, that's for city services. People can call in 311, let people know. He mentioned like graffiti or any type of things that like a public works department, the DPI in this particular situation would cover. You actually came on a few weeks ago, coincidentally, because, in your early days as a Ward 3 City Councilor, I think you've probably noticed an influx of constituent calls. And you ran exclusive, and I know a lot of people put this as part of their platform, but I think it was a major component of your platform was constituent services. So what is the See It, Click It, Fix It app, and how can that be a complement to the 311 calls?
So the See It, Fix It, Click It app is just another way, a more tech-savvy way that folks can do their part to really let the officials of the city know and the proper departments know about particular trouble areas in the city or issues that are going on. We're an older city, and some of our infrastructure is very outdated. And if the thousands of people pass these things every day, but not many are actually taking the time to put it in or to make the call to the counselors or things like that. This is something that literally could take you 2 minutes from downloading the app to putting in your first recognized issue. There's about a total of 2 minutes to do, and I myself have the option that, and anybody does, that if there's anything that's local to me, I automatically also get notification that, hey, a neighbor has put in a complaint or an issue on Hathaway Road, and you can go and see the process of that from start to finish, that it's either been addressed or it's been it's in the works or it's been acknowledged. So it's just another way that folks can take a more active approach in the goings on of their city.
So, Shawn, was there anything in that speech? Because I remember last year, I talked to Mayor Mitchell about this. We did last time he was in. Last year, he had an announcement that the Z was getting $5 million. The city council in ARPA money. The city council was surprised by it and vexed by it. I'll say annoyed by it. And was there anything in particular in that speech that you found like, well, that isn't quite right, or I'm not sure that, I don't particularly like anything that surprised you or annoyed you, or like you just looked at it like, that wasn't quite right?
Not really. I mean, there was a lot of stuff to digest in that in the speech. There's a lot of good that's happening in the city. I think a big thing that folks really haven't spoke about today was we touched on the New Bedford Fairhaven Bridge, on how that's been an obstacle for decades, and now there's some real talk and some real plans to get that on the pathway to a replacement. That's even though it was a little buzz, that's big news.
That is big news. It's something that's that is a point of frustration for a lot of us. Important question: is it the New Bedford Fairhaven Bridge or is it the Fairhaven Bridge? I've always called it the Fairhaven Bridge. I live in Fairhaven.
Listen, I'm guilty of calling it the Fairhaven Bridge, but now, as an elected official, it is the New Bedford Fairhaven Bridge.
Well, yeah, it is exclusively in New Bedford, but people always think that the Fairhaven side of the bridge is Fairhaven, but you don't get the Fairhaven.
I've called it my whole life the Fairhaven Bridge, right?
Yeah, I've always called it the Fairhaven Bridge. But so we're speaking with Shawn Oliver. He's the Ward 3 City Councilor, reacting to the State of the City. Reacting to the State of the City address. What did you called it a pep rally, but any other thoughts about like the atmosphere of it or the people that were there, anything in particular?
I mean, there was a lot of, I know you guys say that you guys are the place where the movers and shakers come to be heard. But there was a lot of movers and shakers at this State of the City address.
Yeah.
And but the atmosphere, it was very bright, inviting. Everybody, I saw a lot of folks getting up and talking with people, and I don't think there were many shy folks in the room. If you wanted to talk to somebody in particular and they were there, they were pretty much available and ready to speak with you. And the other thing too is that was a room full of people who, though we may have different views on some certain things, that was a room full of people that really, really care about the goings-on of the city and Greater New Bedford.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Shawn, you were. Is there anything in particular about the speech that you wanted to mention? Because I'd like to move on to some council business.
Again, I think we look to hopefully double down on bringing some awareness to our public safety with our really trying to focus on reminding folks that police officers are here to do a fundamental job and really protect and serve. And I think that's kind of been not just a New Bedford issue, but a nationwide issue that's kind of got this, stigma around law enforcement in general. And that's playing a big part in the shortages that we're seeing in the police department. And I think it behoove not only the city and the police department to let's become more involved with community outreach. So more of as the weather's breaking, more of these night outs and things like that, where we can get our police force back into the communities that they serve and reconnecting with the folks. That's been the biggest thing. And we had a couple of years of social disconnection in general, and that didn't help. But we really need to focus on our on the folks that keep us safe on a daily basis.
Absolutely, Shawn. We talked to you about I want to ask you a little bit about the city council meeting that happened last Thursday. It was a big meeting. We had a lot of eyes and ears on that meeting. We were here, giving some info to everybody through Adam Bass, our reporter. You voted against. You explained why you'd voted for the 4-year mayoral term ballot question, against the rent control question, against the CPA question. It seems like that was sort of a big thing that the council or some members of the council have put a lot of energy into. What are you looking for to move on? What kind of work are you looking to move on from now that those questions are behind you?
Well, I mean, those questions are behind us, but the issues are not. Especially the housing crisis that we're facing. Just because that non-binding question failed to be placed on the ballot doesn't mean that the work is done there. Yeah. I've spoken with my colleagues, and now is our opportunity to really dive in, put some of these things that are on paper with the comprehensive plan to the test, and see if we can really get a grasp on this crisis. I think that New Bedford has been a leader in many different things over the course of our time, but now we have a chance to become a leader and really this housing crisis and be a model for other cities and towns throughout the Commonwealth.
We're speaking with Shawn Oliver, the Ward 3 City Councilor. Shawn, I mean, we're going to build our way out of this, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. You've got private developers who've got some work on the board. You need more of them. You've got Steve Beauregard at the Housing Authority who has tried to build more housing. He's been successful on some occasions. I think he's been stymied in other. Have you worked with Steve at all, or do you look forward to working with Steve to try to develop more public housing?
Well, I look forward to working with Steve and many others that are really trying to affect change through this crisis. That is how we're going to really get out of it. Is yes, we have to build our way out of it, as you say, but there's still a lot of things that need to be. We've talked about zoning and making the city more friendly to to do business with, not only commercial but residential developers. That's really what it's going to take. If we're truly open for business, then we can't just use these words and say we're open for business and yet put these plans into place to the fullest extent that they can be to really generate that type of buzz around these issues. If we're not going to do anything, then the developers aren't going to be. Nothing's going to behoove them to come to New Bedford to do what needs to get done.
So we're speaking with Ward 3 City Councilor Shawn Oliver. You had a special meeting earlier today. You want to tell us a little bit about what went down?
Well, today's meeting was just a special meeting. The New Bedford, the City of New Bedford, and the AFSCME local 851 unions had come to more or less they came to terms with contract negotiations, and that was voted on today, and that was in the favor of the employees of the city. And then that was pretty much it. There were some other things that some funding from the stabilization funds and public infrastructure and things like that. They were that we had already come out of committee and just needed to be sent in front of the city council to be voted upon. It was a rather quick meeting through Zoom, and it was aired through New Bedford Cable Access on their Facebook page. And then after that, I went to one of our community meetings that we have in the city, as I've been talking about also. There's 7 of them that go on in the city, and tonight was the Ward 5 meeting at the Buttonwood Park Senior Center. And we had a presentation from the, South Coast, I think it was South Coast, I'm going to misspeak here.
Just make it up. No one will know.
Yeah, sure. Blah blah blah. Right?
There you go. Perfect.
But it was about the stopping parallel products. It was we had a presentation there.
That boat's sailed, hasn't it?
Well, there's still discussion that's left to be had. I guess they're looking to have another community outreach meeting. Parallel Products is. I think that there's kind of like a little bit of a name change too. They're going through South Coast Renewables, from what I understand. But there is going to be another forum, and we've suggested either Lincoln Elementary School or perhaps Keith or Normandin Middle School to have this last forum. These folks are really passionate about this particular issue. I included, as well as some of my colleagues that were in attendance today. So, we're looking to take part in this and make the folks even more aware of it, because it's not a done deal issue. And I think that the New Bedford and its residents really needs to become a little bit more educated as to what exactly is going to be happening there. And from the forums that I've been seeing, only a few residents come to these things, but this is not only going to impact New Bedford, it's going to impact the surrounding towns as well.
Councilor, I was under the understanding, I think we've reported on it here, that an agreement was reached between the mayor, the president of the city council, some of the state representatives, for Parallel Products to go forward under a set of restrictions.
There are some certain restrictions. They were saying that it was, I think that the agreement was like a $8,000 agreement to the city, and then $2 per ton of biosolids that were going to come in or something like that. But I think some of the provisions were no biosolids, but something that could be readdressed and added right back to the table as easy as the agreement has been struck. But
wait, who's saying you can reopen the agreement?
Well, I don't think this is what the folks at. That's why I wanted to get I had the information.
Oh, the activist group is saying that?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So, so it's South Coast Neighbors United is the activist group behind it.
Are they a signatory to the agreement?
I think they have some legal they have some legal litigation going on with them right now in trying to stop what is happening there. I think that there's still, from what I've been told and what I'm seeing, is there's still a window that we were able to, as a city, come together and kind of put a halt to this that's going on.
Now,
So,
who's speaking? I know they got a name, but that's obviously people. Who are the people that are this group, this activist group?
well, I have, again, I don't have the information here, so maybe I shouldn't have come out and saying it all, but there is going to be another community meeting in 1 week from today.
Okay.
At the Holy Name, the Sacred Heart of the Holy Name Sacred Heart Church.
Okay.
At our community meeting, these folks are going to come and present another presentation to stop the facility that is proposed for the industrial park.
Be interested to check that out.
Yeah.
I invite folks. I invite the media to come to one of these meetings. These folks are actively trying to make the residents of the city aware of options that we still have available at our disposal and what exactly is going on or what is proposed to go on at the industrial park with
All
this facility. So,
Just one more question, Councilor Oliver. We heard a report over the last weeks or so that the chief of police had applied for the job in Falmouth. So he's looking to leave. He's not going to do that. He's going to stay. What does that indicate to you about the police department if the chief is looking to leave?
well, I mean, anytime the head of an organization leaves, it kind of sends like a little bit of a ripple effect, not only in this case the police department, but in the city as well. When I became knowledgeable of this, I was a little worried because if the head of the ship, the captain of the ship, is looking to go elsewhere, then it makes me question my position. Folks in that, especially in that type of work, those guys are really clinging on to things that keep them coming to work every day. Whether it's good leadership, whether it's the city they serve, wanting to provide for their family, or the families of the city. Any of these things, you upset the apple cart with some of these things, could really cause some more instability in a department that is already losing numbers at what I think is record rates.
Look. My understanding is he's a good chief. He's had a hell of a career. I know that. It wouldn't be a guy we'd want to lose. So, what is it the city can do to make the job better for him? You know.
I mean, absolutely not. I've had the pleasure of meeting and speaking with the chief on multiple occasions already as I start my tenure as a counselor. And he's a very great guy, very personable guy, very approachable guy. And I do think that he is a huge asset to the New Bedford Police Department. As far as the message that it sends, we really do need to stand behind our police officers. That's the message. Obviously, we've had this conversation before, where money is a motivator. But the biggest thing is not just so yes, you get the money, but now here's some additional stresses of the job that's already highly stressful, with the lack of community support that the officers get, the lack of the staffing issues that they have. These are all additional stresses of the job that weigh on people, and at some point we all decide, hey, I've had enough. I'm looking for greener pastures. So I hope that we as a city can really rally around our men and women with the New Bedford Police Department really get this issue under control.
Shawn, thanks so much for joining us this evening. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for
Sean.
having me. Have a great night.
Shawn Oliver, Ward 3 City Councilor, and we're going to take a break.
Yes.
Welcome back. So we've got some calls on the line, Chris. Let's get to them. Good evening. You're live.
Yeah, Councilor Oliver, some junkie just took a dump on my lawn. Come over here and clean it up. Thank you.
Use the app, please, sir. I think there's a button for that.
Good evening. You're live.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How's it going?
Hey, my friend.
Going. It's good. Hi, my friend. How are we doing?
Good.
Listening to the mayor's state of the city speech, it seemed like to me to be a victory speech, and that the mayor's race is over as of today. Okay. However, it seems that I think in his anxiousness to do something for the city and to represent the city, the mayor may have overplayed his hand by asking the MBTA to give him more money and threatening a lawsuit. Chris, I know you're not against the mayor.
No.
What advice would you offer to give him to try to mend the fences that seem to be broken between him and the state delegation? And it seems tonight from Mr. Markey's interview that much of the delegation is upset with the mayor. So what advice would you give him if he were to take it and you were to be his advisor to try to mend fences here?
Sure. So, look, first of all, the mayor's very busy. Everybody in the delegation's very busy. They have staff. The mayor has a very good staff. The staff, for instance, at Senator Montigny's office, I know them well. They're very good. I don't know so much of the staff at the rep level, but they have staff. I know some of the staff at Senator Roderick's office. The mayor needs to assign a member of his staff to make sure they keep an open communication with the delegation. It is a time. It happens all the time. I remember John Kerry had a problem with his staff not communicating, or him not delegating his staff to communicate enough with a lot of local elected officials. After Weld ran against him, that was a major issue that played out in the newspapers. It was one of the things he said, mea culpa. And he actually brought in some more staff. And I'm not blaming John's staff, don't get me wrong. I'm saying that your question was, what's a recommendation? That's a recommendation.
Like a legislative liaison, basically.
Yep, exactly, right? Everyone, a lot of other people have them.
A lot of people do, yeah.
You need to have, because our delegation is so good, so powerful, and so necessary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would say. That I think would go a long way.
Again, I remember the conversation you had with Senator Montigny about the goings-on the state pier, and Senator Montigny pointed out that he had been for doing what the mayor wants to do with the state pier for a long time.
He started it, yeah.
Yes. So I know it's tough, but maybe before these, and I imagine, the mayor is anxious to get things done, maybe it sounded like today coming out of, Representative Markey's mouth that more consultation is needed. Like, hey,
yes,
guys, I'm going to do this.
Right.
What do you think? And I know the mayor isn't one to like to consult. Okay, he likes to do his thing, and But I think for the good of the area, since you have such an influential state delegation down here that is ready and willing to help, more consultation has to take place. What do you say about that? In other words, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you guys think about it?
Totally agree. Totally agree. And that's why I say assign a staff member to communicate with the delegation, because again, as individuals they're busy, but that's why they have staff.
Yeah.
The mayor as an individual is busy, but that's why he has staff.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not difficult. This stuff should not be happening.
Yes, and again, since they're talking about the bridge again, I think you're going to need, your state delegation to help bring about a fixing of the Fairhaven Bridge, which is what I call it too, even though it's in New Bedford. You're going to need everybody pulling in the same direction to get funds for that and get it done and have it happen. It's just too bad because like I say, I thought listening to the mayor's address today, I thought it was basically a victory speech.
That's typical of those. Any State of the City, State of the Union, State of the State. It's all. It's all very much like, hey, look at all the good things we're doing.
Yes, but again, this thing, and I can understand why the mayor would do it. If that land is worth more than $500,000, I can see him, being upset. But maybe some consultation, either face to face or through staff or whatever, would serve the city and all parties a lot better if that could be done.
Yeah, I just think that this was something that didn't need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think Representative Markey laid it out very well. I've spoken with Senator Montigny. I know Mark has spoken with other members of the delegation.
Yeah, I talked to Bill Strauss the other night. Yeah.
These guys have done a lot of heavy lifting. And I get it. The mayor has an obligation to defend the interests of the city.
Absolutely.
And as Chris Markey said, he's on board with them there.
Yeah.
But this was not the right way to do it.
Yep.
And I think that better communication could have prevented it.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. And I will say to you again, when the time comes when John Mitchell gets appointed to be a judge by Maura Healy, okay, and the time comes for another mayor, the gentleman you had on tonight, and I've said it before, I know he lives in Dartmouth, but he would be an excellent candidate.
I agree with you.
It might not be in his plan. How old is he now, anyway?
Early 50s.
Early 50s. Well,
said he got elected at 43. It was about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, again, I don't think there's anybody would say that if Mr. Markey moved into New Bedford, that the former son of a mayor would be a carpetbagger. That's for sure.
No, he's a New Bedford
not only
guy.
That people don't care about carpetbaggers. We've learned that. For the most part,
we'd like to hope that that's not a real concern. It's just a
no. I don't think it would be. But again, he spoke very eloquently tonight, very simply, and to make people understand. Yet he wasn't abrasive or alienating anyone. He just stated the things as he sees them, and I guess as the delegation sees them. And it was very eloquent in his simplicity and very informative. Okay, guys, I'll let you go, and I've said my 2 cents and probably more than I should have said.
Thank you, my friend.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Look, Representative Markey's measured guy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of experience there.
Yeah,
I think we could do a lot worse.
Absolutely. Let's take a break.
1420 WBSM, New Bedford's News Talk Station.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy. You know what? We should make an emergency communication plan. That way we're ready this year. At my dorm, we have emergency kits for earthquakes and wildfires, but I'm sure there's something more local. I can send you with a link.
Okay.
Smart.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
The next disaster is coming. The time to get ready is now. Make a plan. Identify meetup locations and people you'll need to contact. Put your contact list in your wallet, on your phone, and somewhere visible in your home. Build a kit. Store enough food and water for 3 days. Don't forget your pets. And consider buying a pre-made kit. Keep at least 7 days of medication on hand. Work with your pharmacist and insurance company to secure the extra doses. Make copies of important documents. Keep them on your phone, in the cloud, or on a USB stick. Stay informed. Learn about local hazards. Take courses in CPR and first aid. And sign up for local alert systems. An early warning can give you the time you need to prepare for a fast-moving disaster. Be ready. Learn more at americares.org/send-us-in.
Transitioning out of the military, it's difficult. Just about everything around you changes. I would get phone calls that brothers were dying, some of them to suicide. And I'd found myself in another cold cemetery. And I started to wonder if I was next. It's a struggle to know that you're facing challenges, but not being ready to face them. Sleep doesn't come easy. And when it comes, it doesn't last long. You're tired all the time. I didn't reach out for that help, but thank God my wife did. She got me registered for Wounded Warrior Project. Talking to somebody that would listen to me and understood my story helped me realize that it was time to change. There's a new fight, there's a new mission, and that's something I am eternally grateful for.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
Get breaking news alerts, stream audio, send us text messages, and get live traffic and weather updates all on the WBSM app. Download it now from your app store or at WBSM.com.
Who else played with a mask? Kareem had the goggles.
I was just saying that Jaylen Brown's mask gives me nightmares.
Yeah. It's, and he actually statistically plays worse with it. They've found. But some players have played well with masks. Lucius Harris played for the Nets. Lucius Harris played with a mask. That's who I was thinking of. That's it. That's all I have on the NBA players with masks.
The Bruins really flamed out.
Yeah, I watched that game.
You were the problem.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, that was probably me. I don't follow hockey super well, but I did go to the 2011 Bruins parade. Oh my God, that was wild. I got yelled at by somebody actually because I was standing in front of them, and they were yelling at me for being tall and being in their way. But they're like, "We've been waiting here for like." I just walked out. I just walked, and I was standing on the sidewalk, out.
Did you yell good genetics at them? Don't blame me. I have good genetics.
The guy, I know you're not standing here. We've been here for 2 hours. I'm like, you should have picked a better spot. I was right in front of the street. And then I was like, he was being mean. So I'm like, now I'm definitely not moving.
Tell him your mom should have picked a better husband.
Hey, buddy, I'm with my kids. Can you move? They can't see. Would have been nice. Right. But hey, I think they called me Sasquatch. And I'm like, that's not a nice thing to say to somebody. And so,
no.
So I was like, yeah, no, I don't like that very much. So I'm going to stay here. But they did. They did blow it. So now everybody can just watch basketball, which is a better sport.
And baseball.
Which
has become a much better game.
Yeah, with the 30-second pitch clock. Yeah.
Look, I really don't like messing around with the rules. It's funny, I was talking to a friend of mine who played a lot of baseball, semi-pro, all that stuff. And when they were thinking about changing the rules, and he said, I don't like them messing around with the rules, right? And I'm really inclined to that position generally, but I do think they made a great improvement. Shortening the games was unnecessary.
I think so too. Baseball always has that Americana feel and all of that, and there's always going to be a nostalgia, a certain feeling to it. But you still got to make it. You still got to improve it, get more eyes on it, get people to be hooked in longer, because that's TV revenues too. You
just can't ask people to dedicate that much time to a game. Really, I mean, you just can't. Let's go to the phones. Good evening. Hello. Hey, you're on the air.
Basketball players with a mask. Bill Lambier.
He wore a mask?
Yeah. He got, I think, elbowed in the eye or something.
Probably did.
Probably deserved it.
A big shield. He had a big shield across his face. That was later in his career, actually.
Bill Lambier.
Yeah, the menace. And that's exactly what his job was. He'll tell you that in interviews today, that his job was to cause havoc and distraction so they could win a game. And that's exactly what the man did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Bill Lambier was a power forward for /center for the Bad Boy Pistons. He had some range, too. It was kind of ahead of his time in that regard. He could shoot. Yeah.
It was, we've talked about this before. You say the basketball players today are better than the basketball players of the 70s and 80s.
Of course
I
they
don't
are.
agree.
Well, I think every athlete is better.
No way.
Yeah, of course they are.
Way.
All athletes are better today.
LeBron James.
We've come a long way with nutrition, training, supplements.
Michael Jordan played in the 90s.
He was the best that ever played.
I think it's LeBron James.
You can pick out individual basketball players, or athletes in general, but overall, everybody has gotten better.
Yeah.
Nutrition, training, supplements, medicine, it's all better.
I think they played harder. Look at the boxers in the old days. They fought a lot harder, more rounds. There was less rules. I mean, look at them today. They're real big. They're overweight. They can barely go 10 rounds.
What I'm saying is, with respect to basketball, is like, okay, I'm pointing out LeBron James was a top 2 player of all time, but even look like a guy like Kevin Durant, who again is elite player, but they wouldn't have known what to do with him back then. He's basically 7 feet, and he can play like a point guard. He glides throughout the court. He can shoot from anywhere, and he's basically, if he gets going, he's unstoppable. He's the length of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? Who was the most dominant player at that time. You just put guys like that on the floor today. They wouldn't know what to do with them.
I disagree with
Joel Embiid, the MVP this year, same thing. He's big, he's powerful, and he's got range. He can move. It's just, look at Jokic. A guy like Jokic, who averages a triple-double as a center.
I don't know.
20, 10, and 10.
There were less teams back in the old days.
Well, that's the reason it makes it so difficult to make the comparisons, is that there's so many variables that have shifted over the years.
I'm always of the opinion that a lot of great players would be great in any era. I think there's some exceptions. Like Wilt Chamberlain would be great in any era because he was big, he was athletic, he could move, he could play in this.
Larry Bird.
Larry Bird's tremendous.
Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, obviously. Michael Jordan ushered in a new era, right? It's, some of these guys, like I said, Jokic is a perfect example. Everybody makes a big thing of Oscar Robertson averaging a triple-double. Jokic is doing it at 7 feet tall. I mean, that's just incredible.
There was, and we'll focus on this, but Tom Wolfe wrote a great novel, and one of the subplots, he's written many of them, but one of the subplots to his novel, it was about Atlanta, okay? And it was about football players from the past, college football players, and football players from this era. And it was about a white football player who'd retired and now become a developer. Mm-hmm. But he played in an era when African Americans are not allowed to play in college ball, right?
Yeah.
So the subplot of the novel was this young black football player is looking at this older white guy and saying, "You couldn't have played with me, right? Because I couldn't have played with you." Type of thing, right?
The first all-black team in the NBA was the Knicks in the 70s. That was like the big thing.
Football players have definitely gotten bigger. The quarterback, what was his name, a 215? What are they now, 230? What was Brady?
They're mobile. All of them are mobile. Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes.
I'll agree with you there, but I think the old school basketball players were better. I'm talking about the 80s, more or less.
Do we think that the Jets have a chance now that they've got Rodgers?
So put it this way: everybody talks about, like, if the Jets hadn't won that meaningless game a few years ago and got to draft Trevor Lawrence, they were a playoff team because they were almost a playoff team with some of the worst quarterback play in the NFL. Right. So now they have a guy with experience, who has a lot of deep playoff runs in a Super Bowl under his belt, now giving him one of the best young receivers in the league in Garrett Wilson, a good offensive line, a great running back, and a fantastic defense. Yeah, of course they can.
The ticket sales, the season tickets, have gone up 400%.
I bet.
Now, of course, that's easy to move the number when no one was going to the games.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers
I'm going to go here. I made my point, but it's interesting to talk about.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling, my friend. Have a good night. Thank you.
Let's take a quick break.
Does he get past the Bills, though?
I think the Bills are in a downward trajectory now. I mean, they have a title window still, for sure. They've got Josh Allen. Anytime you have Josh Allen, you've got a title window.
Right.
But to sustain long playoff runs over long periods of time is really difficult. That's why only Tom Brady could really do it, and that's why really maybe only Patrick Mahomes can do it now. So
he's fantastic.
He is fantastic. We got to take a break. We'll be right back. That was a good show.
It was a fun show. I want to thank Chris Markey. I want to thank City Councilor Oliver. I want to thank our audience.
I want to thank Matt Stout from the Boston Globe.
Great interview.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we can get him back again. I love when these guys are paying attention to South Coast.
Absolutely, me too. Yeah.
Show Marks, we'll have a great rest of the week. What do you think the fallout is from Chris Markey's performance tonight?
We'll find out. I mean, Mitchell has his weekly segment on the Tim Weisberg show. We'll definitely. I mean, this audio that some things were said.
Things were said.
So we'll dive more into that as the week goes on and as the weeks go on.
And remember, nomination papers are still available, folks.
Yeah.
If you want to run for anything.
So, yeah, we want an active election for every office. Not just because it makes our job better, but because it's just good for the process, honestly. So,
more choices, better for the process.
Absolutely, and more fun for us.
Much more fun for us.
So, thanks so much, guys.
Have a great day.
Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow, and that's it.